Things got bad for the Commanders in Dallas. Not only did they lose to their rival, they may have lost their quarterback for a while. Jayden Daniels got injured. We'll discuss that here on Locked On NFL.
The barbershop is open and Tony Wiggins has a chair for you. He's ready with some real NFL talk. The local experts of Locked On bring their expertise, and Wiggy is ready with his clippers and shears. Sit down and enjoy. The new Locked On NFL starts now. Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
It is your team every day here on Locked On NFL. We thank you for making us your first listen. I'm Tony Wiggins, the host of the Locked On NFL Barbershop, second half of 2 shows here on Locked On NFL. What we do is go around the league and use the local experts and their clips to talk about the things that are going on with each one of those teams, and we'll do that again today. Of course, it's Monday. That means that riding shotgun with me is my main man, Julian Council of Locked On Panthers. He's going to help me navigate everything about yesterday's action. Got to let you know that we're free to subscribe to wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you tap into that location, whether you watch or listen. And you'll see and hear a show like the one today that is sponsored and brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code Locked On NFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And for some ad-free content of these podcasts, make sure you slide on over to Amazon Music and check that out for free. All right, here's what we're going to talk about. It's the Jets. Justin Fields' days are over as a starter. We'll end up there. And Julian's shaking his head, and he knows that this one was tailor-made just for him. The Dolphins sink to a new low. Tua got benched. Good. I think that's part of the problem. We're going to start at the top. Like we mentioned in the opening, Jayden Daniels injured in a rivalry loss against Dallas. Julian, I expected a wild game, but I didn't expect it to go that way. Not only did he lose to the rival, they might have lost a little bit more than that.
Well, yeah, Jayden Daniels goes down for the second time this season. He's already missed a couple of games earlier this year. Now we'll look and see whether he's going to be able to come back next week. But obviously the vibes aren't great up there in Washington. They have the stadium going back to RFK. They were able to have a great turnaround last year, get to the NFC title game. But this season, they had the whole Terry McLaurin contract dispute. Now the Jayden Daniels injuries, not once, but now twice. Things not looking great right now for the Commanders.
Not. And we're going to let my man David Harrison, our Wednesday co-host here. Well, he was in Dallas yesterday for the Commanders, Locked On Commanders. He's going to give you a full spill of how he felt after the game.
44-22, the final score here in Arlington as the Washington Commanders fall to 3-4, below 500 for the first time since week 1 of 2024. Jayden Daniels' rookie season, and arguably the biggest thing to look for as far as the future is concerned, Jayden Daniels leaving the game in the third quarter with a hamstring injury. But even beyond the health of the quarterback, which obviously is incredibly important, this defense, 7 weeks through, I think we pretty much have to come to grips with the fact that the defense is what the defense is. And this Washington Commanders offense not only needs to start fast every game, they've got to outpace every opponent along the way, or else all the hopes of Super Bowls and playoffs and consecutive postseason appearances are going to go right out the window. It's still a long way to get to that point, though. We're going to talk about it all on the Locked On Commanders podcast, so make sure you come through, all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team, every day.
Dan Quinn is a defensive guy, and he's the head coach. They've spent a lot of money, not only since he got there, a lot of resources on defensive backs and corners, lots on the defensive tackle. They got a lot of guys making a bunch of money. At some point, though, it shows you that just because a guy's a defensive head coach, whatever side of the ball he comes from, sometimes it doesn't get fixed. And case in point, look at Washington. They got to outscore people, and now they're going to have to do it without their quarterback maybe for a little while.
Yeah, and it's not like the defense was all that great last year to begin with. Last year, you look over at EPA, expected points added, looking over at True Media, they were 24th in the league. Looking at it so far through the first 7 weeks of this season, not counting Monday Night Football tonight, they're 25th in the league. So the defense is exactly what it was a year ago. The only problem is that Jayden Daniels has been, again, banged up, and he hasn't played to the level that he played last year. When you look at EPA per drop back, he is sitting there in the 20s. Last year, he was a top 10 quarterback among the likes of Jared Goff, how well he played, Baker Mayfield, how well he played last year, how well he's playing this year, he's been back in the 20s. He has not been a top 10, top tier kind of quarterback this season. So when you have a defense that didn't get better, at least through the first 7 weeks of the season, and a quarterback who has regressed, and I think a lot of that regression is just due to the injuries, but even when he played earlier this season and on Sunday hasn't looked like the same guy, then you get these kind of results where they have had what I felt like was going to be a pretty natural regression back to the mean, because I didn't think they were that good of a football team last year. Everything just kind of worked out well for them. They caught lightning in a bottle and rode that to an NFC title game where they weren't really competitive against the eventual Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. And here they are now, where there's a lot of concern about where they're going to go from here, sitting at 3-4 in a division that Philadelphia, they have their issues, but they're sitting pretty right now at 5-2. Dallas gets a bounce back win after losing to Carolina. And the Giants at least are competitive. They find gut-wrenching ways to lose games, but they are at least competitive this season now with Jackson Dart's in there. So, yeah, it's not looking good right now for Washington at this point in time in the season. But still, 10 games to go.
Yep, 10 games to go. And if you watch this show as we transition to the 49ers, if you watch this show, I've been trying to rummage or go through the 49ers lineup to see what I want for the team that I cover. I'm going to have to issue an apology to Kyle Shanahan and the entire 49ers organization, because while I keep doing that, they keep winning. They're 5-2. It is hard to win games in the National Football League, especially when a lot of your key players, Hall of Fame level players, are in the stands or watching on TV. They have done a fabulous job, and I don't care who it was against. For them to be winning games right now the way they are is a big deal. Here's my man Brian Peacock from Locked On 49ers.
The San Francisco 49ers get their mojo back on Sunday Night Football in a 20-10 win against the Atlanta Falcons. Hey, everybody, I'm Brian Peacock here of Locked On 49ers, and it's hard not to take away anything other than the San Francisco 49ers completely outcoached the Atlanta Falcons in this football game. This is an undermanned Niners team with the backup quarterback. Their two best defensive players out of the game, yet they nearly shut down Bijan Robinson. He got a lot of touches, and there were some yardage there. He did get into the end zone, but he was not a problem for the San Francisco 49ers. And Michael Penix was actually a problem for the Atlanta Falcons with how bad Robert Saleh's defense made him look in this football game. He looked like a second division player against these San Francisco 49ers, who got back their mojo. They got back to doing what they do with the return of George Kittle, bully ball up front, and a vintage night from Christian McCaffrey. Welcome back, George Kittle. Welcome back this version of Kyle Shanahan's San Francisco 49ers.
We don't talk enough sometimes when we mention teams, and you cover a team and I cover a team, and you know how important the line of scrimmage is. We don't talk enough about teams that we don't cover, about the injuries that they don't have. They're not banged up on their offensive line, and they're lining up and winning behind that running game. And then on defense, they have a lot of young players on the defensive line, but we got to remember they have Chris Korshek as the defensive line coach, and he is one of the best in the business. And I think that's how they're getting this done.
Yeah, well, they've always been a line of scrimmage team since Kyle's gotten there and John Lynch has been there as the general manager. And since they've been able to turn that thing around, they have been great up front, and so great to where they were able to win the amount of games they won when Jimmy Garoppolo was the quarterback. The amount of games they're winning right now with Mac Jones, who could have been the quarterback there. It could have been in the position that Brock Purdy's in right now as a franchise out there in San Francisco. So, like, that's how you win football games, folks. I mean, I know a lot of people talk about the quarterback play, what you got at corner, what you got at edge rusher, and all that is all well and good. But if you can't win up front, and if your offensive line is a disaster, and we've seen with teams like the Chargers right now with the injuries that they have, especially at tackle, they're having trouble winning games right now. There's a lot of teams in this league, and hell, across football at all levels, when they have starting offensive linemen go down, their entire operation falls apart. That's not happening right now in San Francisco. And like Trent Williams, I saw him, he was on SportsCenter of Scott Van Pelt on Sunday night, and he was asked by SVP just about the amount of injuries that they've had to sustain, not just this year, but in the past, and if that makes him more equipped to do so. Trent didn't really say yes, but certainly you have to think as a mentality, like, you can talk about next man up if you've never been through this, but considering that they have been through it and they've still had success and gone to an NFC title game when they lost all their quarterbacks and the Brock Purdy underdog story really began that season, they can actually truly believe that instead of just being words and lip service. Like, it's something that San Francisco has in their identity, much like in their identity is that they win up front, they run the ball, and McCaffrey was awesome as well in that game on Sunday.
We're going to talk about the Miami Dolphins and their identity, and it is not something that's good. We'll get to that in just a second here on Locked On NFL. All right, today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Rippling. If you're a business owner, and here's the truth, SaaS promised to make work easier, but now the average company is buried by hundreds of apps that slow down your teams and simply don't work together. That's not SaaS, that's sad. Software as a disservice. That's why you need Rippling. Rippling is the united platform for global HR, payroll, IT, and finance all in one place. They've helped millions of businesses replace a mess of disconnected tools with one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control. And right now, you can get 6 months free when you go to rippling.com/lockedonnfl. It's serious, man. And it's simple to use. It gives companies one source of truth for their people, data, and everything they touch. It's Rippling. Learn more at rippling.com/lockedonnfl. That's rippling.com/lockedonnfl for 6 months free. Terms and conditions apply. And today's show is also sponsored by Prize Picks. That's what this episode is about. Prize Picks, man. You want to win you some money, you need to go to Prize Picks, man, because all you got to do, it is so much fun. It's a simple way to add more excitement to football. Just pick more or less on player projections like Josh Allen's passing yards or Saquon Barkley's rushing for a touchdown. And guess what? That means that you can get paid all in the game that you play and love and watch. And you can, even if your team doesn't win like mine ain't winning, you can get paid. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right, here with Julian Council as we continue to navigate on this Monday after a big week 7 Sunday, and we still got some things to go through on Monday night, but we got a lot to talk about, and one of them is the team down in South Florida. Well, you've heard a lot all, the last few weeks about guys not showing up for meetings, and the coach and the quarterback is acting like the coach, and the quarterback ain't acting like a quarterback. The coach is acting like everybody's homeboy and not their best friends. It is off the rails in Miami. And before we even talk about it, JC, I'm going to let you hear Kyle Kraft. You might even be able to hear the resignation in his voice. Check this out.
The Miami Dolphins just got absolutely smoked by the Cleveland Browns by a final score of 31-6. And the big question out of this game is this the straw that breaks the back for team owner Stephen Ross? It's been reported that Ross is resistant to the idea of making in-season changes because he likes Mike McDaniel. And I like Mike McDaniel too. But what is abundantly clear in the here and now is that he is not equipped to be an NFL head coach. His team, in a must-have-it situation on the road against another bad team, looked woefully unprepared, looked sloppy, had a bunch of self-inflicted wounds, didn't tackle well, made a plethora of mistakes, and the team's quarterback, who the team gave a second contract to and was supposed to be mastering the offense in year 4 of the system, looked completely lost. Something needs to change in Miami.
Julian, sometimes in the airport, I go to a bathroom and I walk in. I'm like, nah, I can't use this. It's just totally awful. You go down the turnstile or whatever, and there's another bathroom. Well, that's awful too, but it's not as bad as that one. That's what the game was yesterday to me. It's like two horrible teams that are bad, but one of them stinks almighty. Miami looked terrible yesterday, and when you line up terrible versus terrible, and you look even worse, I think it's a sign of what is to come.
Yeah, they're bad. Not really much else to add to that other than that. Because I couldn't believe it when I was seeing that they're getting their doors blown off by Cleveland.
Cleveland of
It's
all
like, I
people.
mean, come on, man. Like a couple weeks ago when they were here in Carolina, they were up 17-0. Now, Bryce Young spotted them 14 points. And the Panthers, like, I didn't think they're going to come back and win that game. But when you look at the stats at the end, when they won that, they outgained Miami 418 to 248. Like that told you everything you needed to know about Carolina actually being a better team than the Dolphins, because you don't come back from 17 points down or from 19-0 down in the fourth quarter like we saw on Sunday between Denver and New York, unless you're just definitively better than the team on the other side of you. And clearly Cleveland's better than Miami. And at this point in time, the way that Tua's looked, all that happened a week ago with him, I guess, calling out his teammates for not showing up and lack accountability. Well, that's on you, buddy. If they don't want to show up and listen to what you have to say, maybe you need to look in the mirror and realize that you're failing as a leader.
Come
And
on now.
obviously on Sundays, when you're throwing 3 picks on 3 straight drives, that's probably a reason why they don't want to listen to what you have to say, because you're not getting it done on Sunday in doing your part. So maybe just keep quiet, keep your head down, go out there, lead by example, because you're not doing that. You're certainly not leading vocally at this point in time. And Mike McDaniel just, I mean, it's just sad to watch at this point in time. He looked like a sad puppy when I saw him in the bowels of Bank of America Stadium a couple weeks ago, holding his daughter on his way out, looked sad on the sidelines. I just think that just, if Stephen Ross is merciful at all, that he will just fire him and get it over with instead of just continuing on. Like, if you like the guy, then don't make him go through it. I remember here in Carolina one time back in, I think, 2010, when John Fox was still the head coach and Jerry Richardson was still the owner. Jerry didn't like John, and the team was awful. And he's like, you're going to sit here and you're going to endure every single week of this 2-14 season. So if you don't like somebody, you do that. If you like them, you set them free. You let them go, try to clean their reputation and potentially be an OC elsewhere in the NFL next year. Because right now he's not doing Mike McDaniel any favors, Tua Tagovailoa any favors, and anybody who's associated with the Miami Dolphins any favors by continuing to let this occur week in and week out.
Yeah. So just in case people missed my bathroom reference, let me explain what it means. There's crap in both places. One of them just doesn't seem like it's worse than the other. And that when you put them next to each other, yes, it was a telltale sign that Miami has it a lot worse right now. I tell you what, somebody else who has a 4-3 record on paper, I always say numbers might not lie, but they don't tell the whole truth. The Chiefs did lose 3 games this year, but they ain't no 4-3 team right now. Actually, they're not. That's what their record is, but that's not who they are. Listen to my man Chris Clark talk about how they are putting it together.
Chiefs absolutely dominated this game from start to finish. Kansas City goes on to win, beats the Raiders, moves to 4-3 on the season. And at this point, they are starting to show that this offense is back to where you expected it to be early on in the season, with Rashee Rice coming back, getting 2 touchdowns on the day, Hollywood Brown getting another touchdown, Travis Kelce having a big catch that got the offense going early on. Patrick Mahomes is playing at an MVP level. All of that means the offense is going in the right direction. Sure, there's question marks with a couple of injuries that happened, but it looks like they probably escaped the big injuries, at least on the offensive side of the ball. We will find out more about Omar Norman Lott in the coming days. But Kansas City moves to 4-3 with a huge win against the Raiders, getting Andy Reid's first shutout in his career as a head coach in the regular season. That is something to be surprised about as well. Much more to come on Locked On Chiefs.
Yeah, we know. Say it again.
They're back.
They're back. And guess who ain't? The Raiders.
No.
Guess what? I think Pete Carroll might want to run, man, and just go back the way he shouldn't have brought Geno with him. They should have figured out something else. The Raiders are terrible.
Why are you still doing this, Pete? I just that of all the hires that was made this past cycle, that was the one that just confused me the most. Like when I remember I was coming out of the gym and I saw that on my phone. I was like, "What? Pete Carroll's still gonna coach? Like, why? What more do you have to do in your career, man? You've won a Super Bowl. You've gone to another one. You won the 2 national championships at USC. You're already one of the all-time greats. Why are you still out here doing this?" And I love Pete Carroll. It's like depressing to observe, because I'm certainly not out here watching all these games for every single snap of the Raiders at this point in time. I'm flying in every once in a while, but my God, like they are bad. Kansas City, though, Yeah, they're good, man. You look at success rate, both defensively and offensively, they sit in the top 10. They sit in the top 10 of EPA on offense and on defense. You just look at just total EPA, they're third in the NFL behind the Colts and the Rams. So this is a team that it has bounced back, and they're right there in position to contend for the top seed in the AFC. And honestly, I'm going to say this, Buffalo, shame on you. Shame on you for losing to the Falcons and losing to New England, because you had a chance to really have a massive lead on them. Shame also on, I guess, the rest of the AFC West, man. Denver, good comeback win. You're only a game ahead of Kansas City right now. The Chargers, you're tied with them at this point in time, and you beat KC week 1.
Blew an opportunity.
I mean, everyone in the AFC blew an opportunity. I suppose Indianapolis, who's 2 games ahead right now, sitting in a division where I don't know what to think of Houston right now. I don't think Jacksonville's particularly good, even if they're sitting at 4-3. I don't know how you feel about that team. But yeah, this feels inevitable that, again, it's going to be the Arrowhead Invitational in Kansas City sitting right there on Championship Sunday with a chance to go back to the Super Bowl again. It all took was them getting healthy. Like, everyone had like a 4 or 5 week head start, and they still couldn't get it done. Just incredible.
You know, it's like the 4x100, and the dude running for Jamaica slipped out of the box. And all these teams were ahead of Usain Bolt, and now here he comes down the stretch. It's like, oh, y'all thought this was, and that's what the Chiefs are, and it is downright sickening, man. I'm telling you. All right, let's get to. You want to talk about sickening? Let's go to that big green fungus in New York when we get back. We're gonna talk about who we gonna talk about, Julian?
The Jets.
All right, let's get to it in just a second here on Locked On NFL. Today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Mazda, man, because Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride. From footwork, breath work, athletes, they all sweat like we did when we were doing tour days. We sweat all the details, but Mazda brings the same intention to how we craft every model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. You can make every drive feel like anything but a routine drive, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. And today's show is sponsored and brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Better make you some money if your team ain't winning. You can still do that, by the way. The NFL season is in full swing after 7 weeks, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get yourself started. Julian Council.
Yeah.
Your team that you cover, the Carolina Panthers, are 4-3. I'm going to give you a chance to talk about them in just a second, but I got to talk about the team that they went on the road and beat, and that is the New York Jets. And I like Aaron Glenn. I hope he can survive this mess after one season. If not, somebody's going to get either a really, really good defensive coordinator at the college or the NFL level, because I think he is a leader of men type. But this is all about Justin Fields. I don't think he's going to get another shot. I'm going to go to Butchko real quick, and then I'm going to let you figure all of this out for me, and then we'll talk about the team that you cover being over 500. Here's John Butchko of Locked On Jets.
The Justin Fields era is over in New York. The Jets bench Fields at halftime of their Week 7 loss to the Carolina Panthers. They really had no choice. It was another week where Fields looked completely lost in the pocket, very indecisive making his reads, hesitant to even throw the football. They had to make a move. In comes Tyrod Taylor, and the offense moves a little bit better, but Taylor throws 2 interceptions. Jets receivers don't make plays that are there to be made, and the Jets lose their 7th straight game to start the season. It is a 2nd straight game where the defense allowed 13 points, but the Jets still managed to lose it. This offense is a mess right now, and it's difficult to tell where the New York Jets' first win of 2025 will come because they are getting nothing from their quarterback position.
It's hard. Say it again.
It's not gonna come. It's not gonna happen. This team's bad, man. The Jets are the Jets yet again. I sitting there watching this game, like Carolina, I had no confidence in the Panthers going out there and winning this game on Sunday because just looking at the last couple of years, there's no reason to feel confident in the Panthers' ability to achieve success and then handle it in a positive way. Now, the last 3 weeks, they have done that. We'll talk more about them momentarily. But looking at the Jets' perspective, all of this, 6.5 games in, and they've already benched Justin Fields. They gave him $30 million guaranteed, and part of his salary next year is guaranteed as well. When you saw that deal from the beginning, you knew it was a bad idea. Like, he had success in Pittsburgh because it's Pittsburgh. He's playing like this in New York because it's the Jets. Like, what did you think was going to happen? And now Aaron Glenn on Monday, he's sitting there saying he hasn't come to a decision about who's going to be the starting quarterback moving forward, that he's consulting coaches who have been in his position. Oh, so that means that you're sitting here and you're talking to Rex Ryan. You're sitting here, you're talking to Adam Gase for whatever reason. You're sitting, you're talking to Eric Mangini. You're talking to Bill Parcells. You're talking to all these other Jets coaches who have had to deal with the mess, the New York Jets of it all, and seeking guidance. Why didn't you talk to these people before and ask them, hey, should I ruin my career over this job? You knew that. You've been a part of this. This is a mess, man. Like, as long as Woody Johnson is owning this team and not out here masquerading as a politician, the Jets are going to look like this. Like this, it's not going to ever get better. Jets fans should know it by now. It's never going to get better with that owner. It doesn't matter who the coach is, who the quarterback is. The Jets are just going to be the Jets. They're just never going to find success as long as they have this owner. It's not like he's done anything to be removed from that position other than have one of the teams that are in the number one market in America and they're an abject disaster every single year. It's sad to see. For Justin Fields, he got his money at least. He won't get another opportunity to be a starter in this league again unless somebody gets injured. And we'll even see if he gets to be a backup anywhere at this point in time. Sure, go Tyrod Taylor. I don't think it matters. Breece Hall should be asking to be traded. Garrett Wilson should be asked to be traded. Sauce Gardner should be asking to be traded. Anybody who wants to have any sort of happiness in their NFL career should be begging the Jets to let them free and go somewhere else, other than, of course, down the hallway to the Giants, where things wouldn't really be much better.
Yeah, it wouldn't be. I mean, I know it's tough. It is tough. If you're Aaron Glenn, you think that you can come in and change everything around, but when the stuff above you hasn't changed very much, it's very, very hard to put your imprint on anything. Tell me about Dave Canales saying, we haven't talked about Dave Tepper a lot this year because guess what? He's one of those owners that everyone said the same thing about, but somehow the Carolina Panthers have, after 7 games, found themselves at 4-3. You're right there front and center each and every day on Locked On Panthers. Give me an idea of what's going on.
Yeah, the last time David Tepper was even around was walking in the bowels of the Gillette Stadium up there in New England, where he had steam coming from his ears after the Patriots beat down Carolina 42-13. Fast forward 3 weeks later, New England's 5-2 and looks to be a pretty doggone good team. Drake May is dicing up the entire league, and Carolina's won 3 straight games, getting that win against Miami, getting to win against Dallas, both in comeback attempts, and also being able to hold on to what was really an ugly game that was not entertaining at all to watch. I think Carolina has some real questions offensively, especially in the passing game. Now, Bryce Young hurt his ankle, exit at the end of the third quarter, did not come back in the fourth quarter. According to reports from Tom Pelissero, the NFL Network, he has a high ankle sprain and is unlikely going to play. Dave Canales speaks here in about 50 minutes, so I'll be over there and we'll find out what he has to say, if he's going to tell us anything at all or try to do the whole gamesmanship thing. Doesn't really matter who plays because Carolina should be trying to run the ball on Buffalo, one of the worst run defenses in the league. But we'll find out how good they are. We know that they're not one of the dregs of the NFL because they already beat 2 of those teams in New York and Miami, and we'll see just where they stand. I think they're probably a middle-of-the-road team in the league. They play the 30th toughest strength of schedule. There's only 32 teams, so they have not been playing a bunch of great teams. And that was what we knew going into the season. Looking at the schedule, those first 7 games, they needed to find a way to be in this position because Sunday it's Buffalo. The Sunday after that, It's at Green Bay. You still have 2 games against New Orleans, but other than those 2 games against the Saints and maybe a game against Atlanta, a team that they beat 30-0, you got 2 against Tampa. You have Seattle. You have San Francisco on the road on Monday Night Football. You have LA at home. It gets a lot tougher from here. So we'll find out the next 2 weeks just where they stand truly. And then the next 8 games after that, we'll find out just how good this team can be. I still feel like they're going to be probably 7-10, 8-9 this year. But it's good that they are sitting here above 500 for the first time in 4 years. 4 years since 2021, October of 2021. That's how long it's been since they have been in this position. And hey, Panther fans, be excited about it. In a big home game, like probably the most anticipated home game since Cam Newton came back a couple of years ago for that game against Washington. But I still feel like this is going to be a 7-10, 8-9 team, especially if they can't throw the ball, which has really been an issue even across this 3-game winning streak.
Okay, I got to be petty.
Sure.
This is the last time I'm going to talk to you until next week. Is that really a home game next week?
It will not be. Hey, here's a trivia question for you. What do you call someone from Buffalo?
Don't know.
Charlatan, because they all live here.
See there? There you go. I figured I'd just pull the scab off real quick. You know what I'm saying? I'm my bad, Julian. I ain't mean to put you in there.
And by the way, one of those people is Locked On Bills host Joe Marino. Lives here in the Charlotte area.
My boy.
Yeah, so yeah, it's gonna be gross. Unfortunately, all these Buffalonians have come down to our beautiful city, and they have doused it in wing sauce and blue cheese and celery and carrots. I hate everything about that. But yeah, it's gonna be like, I had friends the other day being like, "Oh, should we go to the game?" It's gonna be like $250 to get in, and typically Panther games don't cost that much. But because everybody from Buffalo lives here, or is gonna be coming down here and staying on their cousin Sal's couch, that's going to be a game that you don't want to be at if you're a Panthers fan anyways, because why would you want to be around them? But yeah, it's going to be a road game, which most of these games are. The Cowboys game was basically a neutral site. Dolphins game was a neutral site. This will truly be a road game, and we'll see if they can get a win, because that's the one thing for Panther fans. Your stadium gets taken over pretty much every week, but when your team wins, you get to see all these depressed people that spend all this money to come see their team get their ass kicked by the Carolina Panthers. So.
There you go. Hey, I just being a petty barber like me, man, just want to stir stuff up. But I will tell you this: the Queen City is nice, though. My daughter lived there for 2 years, and I absolutely love it. I see why people want to come there.
It was nice. Then everyone from Buffalo moved here.
There you go. There you go. I open up that wound, y'all. But I tell you what, you want to check it out and find out everything that's going to happen in the National Football League. Locked On NFL is the place. Make sure you tap in with Tyler Rowland early in the morning, because the madman will wake you up like a double shot of espresso. And then come on back through the barbershop, where even when your team wins, will be petty and will remind you that there's something you need to be angry about. We'll talk to you later. Julian and I appreciate you spending 32 and a half minutes with us. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you later here on Locked On NFL.